David Nguyen, internet stalker, Lolcow defender, online predator, one of the sickest content creators you'll learn about, will continue in diving into the terrible things he's committed against his friends, women, and those underage. Born on October 17, 1993 in Mississauga, Canada, attending North Charleston High School, not too much else is known about David's earlier life. During his time at high school, we see the first reported event of David's HARASS tendencies coming to light, with him stalking a senior cheerleader as a freshman, even being expelled due to this. As you'll learn with David, that isn't nearly enough to stop him, so following his return, he continued to stalk this poor girl. After David's graduation, we have accounts of them for at least 3 years continuing to hang out around the high school and talk to those underage. When it comes to YouTube, David can be seen posting all kinds of content, some of the more controversial being his adamant defense of other predators like Nova Online, Cyraxx, or the famous faker Andy Ditch. In a lot of their content, you'll see they'll pose as other content creators, make use of some AI and steal clips from others, or otherwise the content will just be stale. But this fella is extremely passionate about defending those guys, and I mean passionate, having about 27 confirmed YouTube channels, most of them solely to defend other PDF files. David hates Lolcow culture. He truly believes predators like Cyraxx or Nova have been framed or done nothing wrong. Their lazy videos where they do nearly no research and spout nonsense can just be infuriating to watch. They have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to these other Lolcows. All they can repeat is that they don't understand the troll's reasoning, the trolls are degenerate, and they're making fun of a poor autistic person and their autistic quirks. No, Jit, you can't completely gloss over the fact that these guys are either actively talking or have talked to minors, or in Andy's case, faking to get his rocks off on people changing his diaper, and it just goes to highlight how manipulative David tries to be and how it's so baked into their nature. You could probably make the connection that they themselves feel personally attacked when others criticize these Lolcows, since David shares many of these fellas' accusations. David, though, I personally think is a much more degenerate in nature than some of these other fellas. But like in this video, they record over a YouTuber in a half-hearted attempt at making it seem like it's not David defending these freaks, but I don't know. Presenting your trolls is something we all see in these Lolcows. Hating the trolls of other Lolcows is maybe a little more rare, but David truly thinks the points that they're making are groundbreaking and will put a stop to Lolcow culture, as they put it. Even though they stutter through a nothing burger of a video with terrible AI voice changers, David has gone as far as considering transitioning and questioning their gender, not in an attempt to find themselves, but believing being a woman will stop the perceived trolling, which makes no sense, but respecting their pronouns nonetheless, because I'm not here to shame that. And what I'm here to question are their motives behind defending other predators and their awful actions. David, being chronically online as it seems, makes posts to Reddit from new account after new account, many of these posts being real circumstances of their degenerate behavior, leaving key details out, such as this instance of stalking a singer in San Francisco claiming to only have been passing through. Clearly downplaying the events, I can't imagine how bad the stalking actually was for these poor people. Another instance of him stalking a musician is this post, where just knowing David was coming was enough to get the show canceled. Believe it or not, this fella does have friends, a few of them in fact, and though these people are very enabling, we understand how David ends up traveling so much or attending concerts and whatnot. A recurring friend in the David Nguyen verse you'll see he burned a bridge with was Hank. Hank was a friend of David's who paid for trips and traveling together. One particular trip, David bailed on Hank after he refused to cover all of David's expenses, wasting $500 of flight credit. David, of course, rather than ever paying Hank back though, would blow money as soon as he gets it rather than paying. Hank would start annoying and bothering David a lot about this money, with growing resentment between the two. David began threatening Hank with a lot of violence, even going as far as saying they'll unalive him. But it gets worse. Hank has been swatted by David a grand total of 4 times. Of all the terrible things David has done to his friends, you'll find Sam to have taken the worst of it. Having met Sam when Sam was only 16 and David was 21, already off to a rough start with that weird age gap. David would have Sam pay for all their trips together, considering him to be their best friend for how much of a pushover he was when it came to anything. But being the attention-hungry pig David is, when Sam's attention began slipping away, it turned out he found a woman named Aubrey he began dating. David began boiling over with hatred for this lady. Through failed attempts at breaking up and threats of R-wording her and violence, all came to a terrible point when their attempt to gain full attention back of Sam from Aubrey. In David's terrible plot, hold on to something for this one, they stole their uncle's car, took him to get some alcohol, got him blackout drunk, dressed as a woman, and forced unconsensual oral sex on him, recording it to threaten to distribute it to porn sites and tell Aubrey Sam was cheating. After that, it seems nothing else came of the video. It's sick. It's so sick. And after hearing that, you get a good look at the sick and twisted way this fella's mind works. I don't know what kind of fucked up you have to be to devise a plan like that against who you consider your best friend, let alone acting out your sick plan. It's just such a terrible, disgusting, and selfish person, really. It's just, moving forward, we can look into some more of David's actions against caseworkers and family members, because you'd be sorely mistaken if you think their gross and terrible actions stop at just random women and friends. Much like Andy Ditch, David has had multiple caseworkers and therapists believing they have some sort of bipolar disorder and blaming that for making them not want to work and sit around and rest all day or travel instead of getting a job. But because it would be so far outside the realm of possibility for this fella to just be as lazy as all hell or whatever, firing this caseworker, much like Andy, who defends so much, for accusing them of malingering or faking a disability to get help you don't need. This is a recurring theme with David, for many of those caseworkers getting involved will find their socials or call out bad behavior, they'll only get fired. People like this really run with this idea of deserving all these handouts and not having to work, which is crazy because you'll find so often they end up being such undeserving people at the same time. Fakers of a disability and predators. You can't feel bad for them at all. They never cease to force some weird connection between themselves and others, like that was done to Sam. As seen with this therapist, they were let go for falling in love with her. You can't come across this type of lolcow without also discovering terrible actions and thoughts they've had with minors. David, of course, putting out this post on Reddit. You're contradicting yourself, Jit. You claim there's some under 18 narrative being spun about you, only to immediately claim you'd also be totally fine beginning and taking a 16-year-old home. In this sick fantasy you've spun about providing for an 18-year-old girl or younger, you haven't even considered the fact you can barely provide for yourself. You're jobless and feed off of those around you. Their sick and broken brain just has no business being around a 16-year-old girl, let alone taking one home like that. This Jit is just so bad at hiding their true colors, so clearly predatory. Fetishizing Vietnamese girls in the process, it doesn't matter to him as long as they're very young, whether they're from Nam or an Asian community here. Driving out over 2 hours for this next act, David dons a woman's swimsuit and goes diving. When leaving the water, they end up flashing a woman and her daughter, pulling the discovery of transgenderism card, or so they claim. I understand finding yourself by trying these things or whatever the opposite gender does, but you also have to consider your facilities. There's no way the bathing suit was containing everything, especially if the woman claims to have seen it and called the cops because of your actions. It's just a little too convenient to have driven all that way, getting out of the water right in front of a young girl like that, especially hearing about their preferences for a young bride. Clearly this Jit is really interested in girls much younger than 16. As stated by their uncle, David, they have been arrested for chasing around a 6th grade girl. 6th grade, bro. For those outside the US, that means this person was chasing around an 11 to 12-year-old girl. The clear over-sexualized nature of David, it's fairly clear their intentions and thoughts behind this act were illicit. Playing the victim nonstop, we see here yet another admission of talking to minors, because I guess just talking isn't illegal, and that is fine because the ones that are 16 to 18 are legal. They can talk sexually about them. Twisted and backwards reasoning and half-assed defenses all the time with this Jit. It's hard to believe no one else has covered David on here yet because they have some fairly active archivers. If you or someone you know is a victim of David Nguyen or any of their aliases, I urge you to come forward and report their actions to the police, because it seriously seems like this sicko gets off scot-free without any consequences for their awful actions. We need less PDFs like this out there. Anyways though, Jits, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Share this around to spread some more awareness about this freak's actions. I'm sick of reading about this creature though. Later, grubbas.